Heroes Like Us is a series intended at sharing comic book characters from various backgrounds and identities. We won't always get everything right, so feel free to make amendments and corrections in the comments. They're always appreciated. What's not appreciated, however, is any form of hate speech or intolerance, so comments of that nature will be immediately deleted and those users blocked from this channel. This is a place of education and celebration. Welcome to I'm Your Target Demographic. Today on Heroes Like Us, we are looking at characters that are Indian in descent. So we're going to break down these characters, a little bit of what they do, but this is basically just a taste. So if you think these characters are interesting, you can look up for yourself who they are, what they do, and some arcs that they're in. So this is just a superficial overview. Let's dive into it. Before we dive in, I want to apologize in advance for any mispronunciations. I'm going to do my best, but feel free in the comments to correct anything that I might say wrong. First up, we've got a DC villain by the name of Jinx. And Jinx is a sorceress. And basically, she doesn't wear shoes, and she has to be kind of grounded. And this enables her to kind of focus these nature-like abilities that she can do. So she can do like wind gusts and like rock slides and stuff. Like she can harness nature in a magical way. Now Jinx also appeared on the cartoons for Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go, but she looked very different. Since she's a villain and a relatively not used often villain, there's not a lot out there on her. Up next from Marvel Comics, we've got Omega Sentinel, Karima Shapandar. Karima is a police officer in India, and she is kind of recruited by Bastion. And Bastion is famous for an art called Zero Tolerance, and he kind of builds these sentinels that go out and take out mutants. So he turns her into one of these mutant hunting sentinels called the Omega Sentinel. She's kind of super powerful, and her body is kind of made up of these nanites that can kind of shape-shift her and give her weapons to counteract what mutants can do. So she's very versatile and she has all sorts of capabilities. Now she eventually turned to the good side and she worked with the X-Men for a while, but since she was so able to take out the X-Men, there were a few storylines where she was hacked, where something else took her over, ways that people used her as a force of evil within the X-Men, that she kind of got taken over and would attack them. So eventually she lost her abilities. So she's just a person again, and I think at this point she's deciding if she wants to either stay with the X-Men and try to help without these nanite, helping technology, whatever, or if she wants to go back to India and become a police officer and help out that way. I think that's kind of where we are with her right now. We also have another Marvel character called Thunderbird, and I think he's the third character to use that name, and his name is Neil Sha'ara. I'm not sure how to pronounce that last name. Sha'ara? Anyways, Neil is actually romantically involved with Omega Sentinel Karima before that whole thing happens. And as she realizes she's becoming the Omega Sentinel, her last kind of act of humanity before she turns into that is to let him go. So she says, like, you have to get out of here before I lose control. So he escapes. His power, he realizes he's a mutant, and his power is to take in heat that's around him and either shoot it back out in this form of fire or turn into kind of this Human Torch looking sort of character, like a Sunspot character. But he uses this heat as a weapon. Now I apologize, there aren't a lot of pictures of him, and the pictures that there are of him are super low quality. So I don't think he was a member of the X-Men for very long, and he didn't really have a lot of substantial arcs, so the pictures I'm working with are really bare minimum. Last we heard, Neil was in a relationship with another mutant named Lifeguard, who had this kind of ability to adapt and create what was needed to save people around her. So it's kind of like if someone needs this to survive, she would find a way to make that happen. So the two of them are together somewhere off the grid. Up next, we have a DC character named Solstice, Kiran Singh. And Kiran is a member of the Teen Titans, and for a while, kind of pre-52, she had this ability to kind of like shoot out ambient light. So it was kind of this light ability and blast, things like that. So it was very fire and light looking. But in the new 52, they've revamped her look to make her look almost like this smoky, dark crystal look, and light is kind of breaking out of her. So it's a very different aesthetic, but it's the same character. And she can kind of do the same things, that she takes that light and harnesses it like a weapon. Where we saw her last is she was in a relationship with Kid Flash, which is Bart Allen, and he's from the future and he has to go back to the future, and he's like trapped in this prison, like they find him guilty of these crimes that he did, and she chooses to stay there with him throughout this trial, and now that he's in prison, I guess, in the future, so she's there. That's the last I believe we heard from her. Lastly, we've got a character called Timeslip, Reena Patel. Timeslip is able to transfer her consciousness to her consciousness in another time. So she can go to her future self and see what she sees, right? Or go to her past self and relive a memory. The tricky thing is that she swaps. So if she goes into the future, that means her future consciousness comes back here. Timeslip was a member of the New Warriors for a time, and she was kind of known for seeing tragic things that were about to happen, and they always came true. And then she eventually lost her powers, and so she kind of went off the grid because she doesn't have those powers anymore, and she just became a normal person. So that is a selection of characters with an Indian background. If there's more that you can think of, let me know in the comments, and we could always see a part 2. I expect most of these videos will have sequels. So let me know who you want to see, who you missed, what you think of this video, and other identities that you want to see us tackle. I've got a ton in the works, so any new suggestions I'll try to get to, but they're gonna be a ways off, so be patient. But thanks for all the support on this video series. I love that you all are getting into this. Thanks for everything. We'll see you next time on Heroes Like Us.